Welcome to a summary of the novel The History of Bees, written by Maya Lunda. This book follows 3 different timelines, with 3 different main characters, William, George, and Tao. Let's start with William. This timeline is set in England in 1851. William used to be a student of biology, studying under Rom, though when he met his wife Tilda and had his 8 children, he had to give up his dreams of becoming a biologist and start selling seeds in a store. To this story, these 6 children and Tilda aren't really important. Only Charlotte, his youngest daughter, and Edmund, his only son, are important. William had always wanted Edmund to be interested in studying biology, though Edmund never was. Either way, one day when William was sick, Edmund came up and brought him a book about bees, which Tilda had asked him to bring up, though William didn't know that and thought that Edmund had wanted to start studying bees, and so William became inspired to study them himself, and, with the help of his daughter Charlotte, designed 2 beehives, both of which were already designed before, and so they didn't break any new ground or make any new discoveries, and that is the entire timeline. Let's move on to George's timeline, which is set in America in 2007. George is a beekeeper and a farmer, and a descendant of Charlotte. He uses her designs for the beehives in order to build his own. George has a wife, Emma, a son, Tom, and friends who aren't really relevant to the story. The main conflict of this timeline is that Tom wants to be an author, but George wants him to work on the farm. One day, most of the bees around the world and on George's farm die. When Tom hears about this, he quits school and helps George on the farm because they're struggling to make money. Tom helps him until the day George dies. And when he does, Tom writes the book The History of Bees, which is about proper beekeeping. That's basically the entire timeline. Now let's move on to the last timeline in the book, which is about Tao, which is set in 2098. In this timeline, all the bees in the world are dead, and humans have resorted to hand pollination. Tao is one of the workers who pollinates flowers and trees every day. She has a husband, Quan, and they have a son called Wei Wen. One day they all go to a hill for the afternoon to relax. Tao and Quan fall asleep, and when they wake up, Wei Wen is gone. They find him in a bush, pale and struggling to breathe. They take him to the hospital, and then when they do, the police section off the entire hill. In the hospital, they don't find out anything about their son until days later, and when they do, they discover that Wei Wen has been shipped off to Beijing. Tao, a desperate mother, takes all their money and goes to Beijing looking for her son. A lot of things happen in Beijing, but they're not really relevant to the story, so I'm going to leave them out. Basically, she goes to every hospital she can find, trying to look for her son, asking around. No one has heard of him, no one has seen him. She tries to figure out what happened to her son then, and goes to a library and reads a book about insects. She then realizes, he was probably stung by a bee. He's probably allergic to bees, and that's why the police are involved, that's why she's in Beijing right now, The bees are back. When she gets out of the library, she gets stopped by their leader, who I'm going to call Li Chiara because I don't really know how to pronounce her name. Li Chiara takes Tao to a government facility where she finds Wei Wen dead. Li Chiara wants Tao to become a symbol for the future, the bees are back, my son died, but there's still hope for the future. So Li Chiara wants to keep the bees in a controlled environment, which Tao isn't really sure about. So she goes back to the library and finds a book called The History of Bees, written by Tom. She realizes that if the bees are kept in a controlled environment, they're going to die again, which she tells to Li Chiara. She also tells her to read the book, which she does, and that's basically the entire timeline. That's pretty much the summary of the entire book. And of course I'm leaving out the part where George and Emma have sex, and the part with incest, and the part where William gets sexually aroused by beetles. That's not important in this story. So thank you for listening to my summary of The History of Bees. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a wonderful day.